The shield is by far the most overlooked equipment item, but with 33 different shields, the question stands to be answered. What's the best shield in tiers of the It's the hylian shield? Yeah, big surprise. I mean, everyone knows that, but that's not why you clicked on this video or why I made this video. It's for all the other shields, the ones that aren't number one, the ones that aren't so good in overkill that they still have some soul left in them. Today, they get their chance to shine in a head-to-head battle to see which shield is the best, besides the hylian shield. Starting with tier DooDoo, which is home to some of the worst shields to ever touch the land of Hyrule. And we're starting out with the shield that everyone knew would be here, the Calum shield. Yep, no surprises just yet. Well, actually, the worst shield in the game is the pot lid. Even though it has 5 more durability than the Calum shield, it has 2 less guard points, making it the weakest in the game. And it's a lot less available than the Boko shield, having only 20 pickups in the entirety of Hyrule, whereas the Boko shield has 137 different guaranteed pickup locations. And while the pot lid may or may not give you a cooking buff, it doesn't, it still deserves its last place spot for obvious reasons. The old wooden shield and the wooden shield are the exact same thing, well, besides their apparent difference in age. These shields both have 2 guard and 12 durability and can be found around the world at roughly 40 different locations for each. Though the old wooden shield can be found in a couple more places, making it marginally better than the normal wooden shield. But now that you've seen the absolute stinkers, it's time to move up a bit to tier D. As you can tell by the lack of change in lettering for this tier, these shields aren't going to be a whole lot better. Now, starting off tier D, we have the Hunter shield. You may think that all of the decorative shields have the exact same stats, but that's actually not the case, and the Hunter shield is the worst out of all of them, especially because it has a stupid little bump in the middle. It has a guard of 3, just like the rest of the decorative shields, and a durability of 10, just like the Fisherman's shield, but can only be found in 3 locations, while the Fisherman's can be found in 11, making it so much worse. Anyways, the obvious next pick is the Fisherman's shield, and then the Emblazoned shield, which actually has 2 more durability than the other 2 decorative shields. The Traveler's shield, just like the Traveler's weapons, really sucks, and so that's why you find it down here in D tier. With 4 guard and 12 durability, it's certainly better than everything that's come before it. It's almost like that's how a ranking video works, but it still really sucks and looks a lot worse than the decorative shields. Like, what is that little bump doing there? Is there any reason for that at all? Welcome to History with Little L. Today's lesson is going to be about the stupid little bumps in the middle of shields. You see, back in pre-Zonai times, also known as the Roman era, shields had these little bumps in the middle, also known as bosses. The bosses were bulges made of iron or bronze to protect the hand holding the shield while in combat. It would also help to deflect strikes made upon the shield and reinforce and improve structural integrity of the shield. Whoa, nerd alert, am I right? Anyways, rusty shield. It's pretty rusted and pretty bad. This shield has a guard of 3, which is lower than the Traveler's shield, but it actually has 16 durability and doesn't have a boss, so it's inherently better in every single way. The rust shield is also more common than the Traveler's shield, and it's the only shield to get with the memo of decayed weapons. Actually, it's been doing it well before decaying was popular, so I guess you could call the rusty shield a trendsetter. Moving up into C tier, we're going to take a look at a lot of pretty mediocre shields that are really easily forgettable. I mean, everyone knows all the worst shields and all of the best ones, kind of like the 1 and 5-star reviews, but no one ever really sorts by 2 or 3 stars. And a really 2-star shield is the spiked Boko shield. Like a rundown Chinese buffet, you can find these shields basically everywhere you go, as they're the most common shield in the game. This shield has a guard of 10, which is the highest we've seen so far by a long shot, but it only has a durability of 7, which is the second worst, only being beaten in unreliability by the base level Boko shield. Who would have thought that a piece of bark wouldn't last long? Well, obviously not the bokoblins. Next up, we have the base Lizzle shield. There's not much for me to say about this thing. It's probably one of the most forgettable shields in the game though. Like honestly, who even has one of these in their inventory? If you opened up your game right now, I bet like only 7.5 of you would actually have one of these in your inventory. It does have 5 more guard than the spiked Boko shield and about 1 more hull durability. It's also a lot harder to find, only having 11 locations throughout Hyrule, but no one really cares about getting these shields anyways, so how common they are doesn't really matter too much. Speaking of better shields, the Zonite shield is up next, and it's better, by a bit. But first, a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Red Magic, and their Nova gaming tablet. As someone who usually games on PC, I was absolutely blown away by the performance of this gaming tablet. It makes use of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 leading version with 12 to 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. And for those that don't understand what that means, like I did before I searched it up, let me break it down for you. This thing is fast, like crazy fast. And with an amazing 2.8K resolution screen, all of the games that I ran looked absolutely amazing. But the colors and resolution aren't the only thing that this display excels at. It also has an 144Hz refresh rate, making everything look extremely smooth. It has a 10,100 mAh battery, which meant that I rarely had to charge it, as the battery life was just that good. And when I did need to charge it, it comes with an 80-watt fast charger, giving it a super fast charge time. But with such a big battery and high performance electronics, it must overheat. Well, that's where the insane cooling system comes in. It has a 20,000 RPM fan circulating air throughout the entire tablet, adding its 9 layers of cooling at near silence. I was absolutely blown away by the Red Magic Nova, and if you'd like to check it out for yourself, make sure to use the link in the description. But now, back to the video. This shield sports a guard stat of 11, but a durability of 15. Where this shield shines is with its ability to work well with Zonite fuses. The Zonite shield family are the only shields in the game to actually have a bonus status effect, which makes them more efficient when fused to Zonite items. Stinking up C tier even more, we have the final of the Goblin shields, the Dragon Bone Boko shield. I know, it shocked me too how bad these shields were. I mean, a durability with a guard of 25 is criminal. It's like the Royal Guard shield, but without the crazy guard stat, just the crappy durability. This shield has less durability than a pot lid, and for that I can't give it anything better than C tier. Now, moving on to B tier, there's going to be a lot of fun and interesting shields coming our way, like the Kite shield. This shield has a funky design and you hold it upside down, which is pretty cool. It also has a guard of 14 and a durability of 16, making it an alright choice for combat, but where this thing really shines is on the slopes. Continuing with the theme of cool shields, we have the Shield of the Mind's Eye, coming in at an even 16 guard and 16 durability. A lot of people regard this shield as one of the best looking, and for good reason. The shield that shares the exact same stats with the Shield of the Mind's Eye is a Soldier's shield, only edging ahead in the list because it's a bit more available by over 20 times. Moving on, we have the Reinforced Lizzle Shield, another forgettable one that basically no one ever uses, but it does have one of the highest defense stats so far at 22, but a pretty poor durability of 12. The Lionel Shield is another really cool shield in B tier. It has a pretty good guard stat of 30, but just like the Reinforced Lizzle Shield, a poor durability of 12. But where this shield really shines is with its ability to do damage when you parry without the need of a fuse. Near the top of B is where we find the strong Zonite shield. With respectable stats and a bonus status effect that makes Zonite fuses more efficient, the strong Zonite shield is one of the first in the list to become a viable pick. And finally, closing out B tier, we have the Zora shield. Although it's kinda rare at only 4 pickup locations, it has some pretty good stats, sitting at 24 defense and 20 durability. As is the deal with most shields in this tier, it looks pretty amazing as well. Next up is A tier, and all the shields in this tier are pretty good, and you aren't going to be making a mistake going with any of these. Well, maybe besides the Steel Lizzle shield. Just kidding. This shield has an alright durability and a good guard of 35. Though it is rare to actually have one of these in your inventory, as with all of the other Lizzle shields. But if we're going to talk about rare shields, we can't not mention the Forest Dweller shield, as it's the first on the list to only have a single pickup location in Hyrule, making it one of the hardest to get so far, but certainly not the hardest overall. That spot is saved for the Gerudo shield. Just kidding, you can find this shield in 5 different guaranteed pickup locations. It also has an actually good looking boss, all blinged out. I heard somewhere that all of the Gerudo shields are extra good for shield surfing. I'm not sure if that's true or not, so if someone is a shield surfing expert, please let me know. Next up is the Mighty Lionel shield. With 44 guard and 14 durability, this shield makes a great pick for mid to late game and gives you some extra chip damage capabilities as well. The Radiant shield has to be one of the best looking shields out there. The shield has a guard of 35 and a pretty good durability of 26. This shield is also just as rare as the Mighty Lionel shield, as it's only available in 6 different locations. This next shield is extremely reliable and very common, making it one of the best and very deserving of its spot on the list. The Knight Shield can be found in 95 different guaranteed locations throughout Hyrule and has impressive stats at 40 guard and 23 durability. People tend to forget just how good this shield has served everyone throughout all of our playthroughs. Next up, we have probably the most unreliable shield of all time, the Royal Guard shield. The whole Royal Guards lineup is the biggest catfish of all time. You expect these weapons to be great, they have insane stats, until you realize the reason why the game hides the durability stat from you. And for the shield, it's the exact same case. A whole 70 for a guard stat, and 14 durability. Yeah, we haven't seen durability this bad since the base level Lionel shield. If you want something reliable, do not pick up this shield. You're gonna be very disappointed very, very quickly. We're now finally going into S tier, where we're gonna find the best of the best. And the Mighty Zonite shield is gonna start it off with 50 guard and 20 durability. I always get confused with the Zonite and Lionel gear because while Mighty is the top tier of Zonite gear, Mighty is the second tier for Lionel, so it usually seems like the Mighty Zonite shield should have a better version, but this is already the best it gets. Speaking of Lionel shields, the Savage Lionel shield is next with a guard of 62 and the same durability as the previous Zonite shield at 20. I would say that this shield is one of the most common for players to have on them, and definitely not because it's easy to find as it only has 3 drop spots, but because everyone loves to fight Lionels, and so we're always picking these up. Next up, we have the big brother of the Knight shield. It's the Royal shield. While not as common as the Knight shield, this is another super reliable shield that has seen a ton of use for most players on their journey. It has a guard of 55 and a respectable durability of 29, cementing its location in S tier, but going into the top 3, that 29 durability is going to start to look a little pathetic. Now, coming into third place overall, we have the Daybreaker. Daybreaker has 48 guard and a whopping 60 durability. This shield lasts for quite a while and is really good for shield surfing for reasons beyond my knowledge. This shield also has a beautiful design that uses the boss as a centerpiece of the shield, and it might finally change my opinion on them. Now, arguably the best shield in Tears of the Kingdom is the Sea Breeze shield. It has a guard of 65 and an amazing durability of 90. This shield is also pretty hard to find as it's an amiibo item, but it's pretty easy to get again as you can just buy more from bargainer statues for only 120 pos. The shield has a classic design that isn't really seen anywhere else and has amazing stats, making it the best shield in Tears of the Kingdom. Anyways, number 1 is the Hylian shield, no one cares. Comment boss if you made it this far and check out this video where I ranked all the weapons, cause if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.